NFL Week 12 is over and we are back. And much like you may be feeling like a zombie coming back off of a long holiday weekend, we are back with some fantasy zombies. And we are again running through 7 deep waiver additions that you can make, primarily geared towards dynasty leagues, but through all deep leagues as well. And again, we use a 50% sleeper rostership threshold, but we fudge that number as needed. So first, we're going to lead off with D'Ernest Johnson, running back from Jacksonville. He is a 29% sleeper rostership. D'Ernest Johnson has really claimed the backup running back role to Travis Etienne in Jacksonville. He's averaged 51.6 yards from scrimmage over the last 3 weeks. And so this is an opportunity to grab onto a primary handcuff that I don't think many people realize has really claimed that role. And especially as you point to a 29% sleeper rostership, that suggests that the average crowd has not caught on to this. And so Bigsby, one of the biggest things on this is he had a fumble against Pittsburgh in week 7 leading up to Jacksonville's bye. And fumbling was a big issue for him through the preseason. Fumbling was an issue for him in week 1. Coming out of that bye, it really looks like the team has kind of said, D'Ernest Johnson, we trust you not to turn the ball over. You're going to serve as that primary backup. And he would be the guy that would gain the most value if Travis Etienne were to leave the lineup. So this is a situation, grab D'Ernest Johnson and prime your benches for this long stretch run, depending on whatever happens there in that backfield. Cedric Tillman, wide receiver from Cleveland. He's at 73% sleeper rostership. That rostership number shouldn't be surprising given that he was a rookie. He came in with a decent amount of buzz, but he has really taken over as the third receiver in Cleveland. He's seen above 85% snap share over the last 3 weeks. And so this is a situation where that had not translated into production. He had topped out at 5 yards as his career high prior to really breaking through this past week with 55 yards. Some of that was because Amari Cooper picked up an injury in this game, and we will be monitoring that injury situation. Make sure to check out all of Adam Hutchinson's great injury content coming to you at Football Guys. But again, Tillman is a player that if he is available in your leagues, he should be added. We'll likely see a muted passing attack from Cleveland, whether it's PJ Walker or Dorian Thompson-Robinson, whoever it might be at quarterback there. But Tillman is a player that can come on over the second half of this year, really gain a lot of value as we step into that offseason. So this is a primary waiver addition in your dynasty leagues if he is available. Wide receiver Greg Dortch from Arizona at 39% sleeper rostership. Some of this might be because Michael Wilson has missed the last 2 games, but Dortch looked all but done in Arizona. Now, he clearly has a connection with Kyler Murray, and he's drawn 17 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's turned that into 12.6 PPR points per game. He had 76 yards 2 weeks ago and then a touchdown this past week. So this makes it difficult to ignore a player that is available in many leagues, seeing this type of volume, seeing 17 targets over the last 2 weeks. And so Dortch is a player to add in your deep leagues and monitor the situation. Maybe it goes away when Michael Wilson returns from injury, but this might be a player that you can plug into those deeper lineups as we go through down the stretch run. Brevin Jordan, tight end from Houston. He's 12% sleeper rostership. This is probably less of an ad for Brevin Jordan and more of a mention to monitor an interesting situation because Dalton Schultz had emerged as a reliable fantasy contributor, ranking tight end 8 on the season. This was almost an equal split of snaps in this game between Schultz and Brevin Jordan. Schultz had 2 targets, his season low. Jordan had only 1 target. Now, while neither of these players turned in fantasy production, this is to raise that eye line and to make note of this, that I don't believe it was an injury situation on Schultz, and kind of the comments coming out of it was they just wanted to see Jordan play more. And so if you've been relying on Dalton Schultz, this is a red flag raiser here. But if you're in the deepest of leagues, you could add Jordan, but I don't expect too much fantasy production out of this matchup here. Wide receiver Jalen Tolbert from Dallas at 36% sleeper rostership. This is another one similar to D'Ernest Johnson that I don't know that a lot have caught on to the shifting roles in Dallas, but Tolbert has outsnapped Michael Gallup in each of the last 3 weeks. And so this is an interesting situation. Tolbert was a very, very buzzy player leading into the 2022 season as a rookie. He was very quiet that year. He did not put up much production, but he's had 49 yards in 2 of his last 4 games. as you look forward, as you push this Dallas receiver room forward, Michael Gallup has an out on his contract, and he has a very large contract with 3 more years remaining on that. But Dallas can get out of that contract, and so this could be a scenario where you're seeing them giving Tolbert more playing time over and above Gallup to see how he can work in that role to make the decision, because it would probably be fair to say coming into the year, moving forward, it was probably between Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup on who was going to be that long-term second receiver. And I think that Brandon Cooks has clearly shown himself to be the better player to Gallup and to be the more crucial part of Dallas's future. So Gallup could be gone. Tolbert is the type of player that we want to add in benches at this point of the year, is particularly if you're kind of out of it a little bit, because we've seen the dynasty community be very, very reactive to personnel moves. And so this is something that you add Tolbert now for free. If they do exercise that out in Gallup's contract, his value is going to spike without football even being played. And so that's exactly the type of players that we want to look to add in these deep leagues right now. Lynn Bowden, another fantasy zombie, New Orleans Saints at 0% sleeper rostership. The Saints have been decimated in their wide receiver core. Chris Olave picked up a concussion in this game. Rashid Shaheed left with injury, and Michael Thomas was injured coming into this game. Bowden has been really out of the league, bouncing around teams, trying to stay in the league over the last couple of years. He was a breakout rookie a bit in the 2020 season for Miami, has really struggled to catch on anywhere. He had 2 rushes in this game, 2 targets, turned those 2 rushes into 40 yards. And so this is the deepest of leagues type ad, and this is really kind of a more of a best ball type ad where you don't know how it's going to play out. They've used Shaheed in a little bit of creative situations, and we've seen, obviously, with the usage of Taysom Hill, this offense can get a little bit wild on how they use players. And Bowden, being that hybrid running back wide receiver type player, it's a situation where he could see some touches, and if you add him in these deep best ball leagues in particular, you never know when a touchdown could come out of those long runs potentially. Last player up, Nelson Agholor, Baltimore, 27% sleeper rostership. We've seen Odell Beckham emerge over the last couple of weeks in terms of production, but Aguilar's actually outsnapped Beckham in each of the last 3 weeks. Beckham had a big first quarter, but went very quiet over the rest of the Sunday night game. Agholor kind of is lingering again. This is more of a best ball play, but he is the primary beneficiary if any of Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, or Odell Beckham were to miss time. And we've seen him make some big plays this year. He actually had the touchdown on Thursday Night Football in Week 11 against Cincinnati. So this is, again, just a deep roster ad that you can make, especially in best ball formats, as a player that can add some value down the stretch. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck on all your waiver claims this week, and make sure to like and subscribe and check out the rest of Football Guys great content.